Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodhanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Stotarasata Shri Srimad, His Divine Loving Grace, Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shama Kunna Radha Kunna Giri Govardhana Ki. Shri Vrindavan Dhama Ki, Shri Mayapur Dhama Ki, Shri Jagannath Puri Dhama Ki, Shri Ganga Maya Ki, Shri Yamuna Maya Ki, Srimati Tulsi Maharani Ki, Their Lordship Shri Shri Radharadhanatha Ki, Sankirtan Yagya Ki, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki, Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories unto the lotus feet of Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Malitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayan Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Lagnatan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vanshakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 3rd chapter, text 47 to 52. Tatascha Saurir Bhagavat Prachidata Sutam Samadaya Sashush Sutika Grihat Yada Bahir Gantum Yeshataraja Ya Yogamaya Janinanda Jayaya. Word for word. Tata, thereafter. Cha, indeed. Sauri, Vasudev. Bhagavat Prachodita, being instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sutam, his son. Samadaya, carrying very carefully. Sa, he. Sutika Grihat, from the maternity room. Yada, when. Bahi Gantum, to go outside. Yesha, desired. Tari, exactly at that time. Aja, the transcendental energy, who also never takes birth. Yahu, Yogamaya, is known as Yogamaya. Anjani took birth. Nandajaya, from the wife of Nanda Maharaj. Translation and purport by His Divine Loving Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Thereafter, exactly when Vasudev, being inspired by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was about to take the newborn child from the delivery room, Yogamaya, the Lord's spiritual energy, took birth as the daughter of the wife of Maharaj Nanda. Purport by Prabhupada. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur discusses that Krishna appeared simultaneously as the son of Devaki and as the son of Yasoda, along with the spiritual energy Yogamaya. As the son of Devaki, he appeared as Vishnu. And because Vasudev was not in the position of pure affection for Krishna, Vasudev worshipped his son as Lord Vishnu. Yashoda, however, pleased her son Krishna without understanding his godhood. This is the difference between Krishna as the son of Yashoda and as the son of Devaki. This is explained by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on the authority of Harivamsa. Texts 48 and 49, English translation only. Translation by Prabhupada. By the influence of Yogamaya, all the doorkeepers fell fast asleep, their senses unable to work, and the other inhabitants of the house also fell deeply asleep. When the sun rises, the darkness automatically disappears. Similarly, when Vasudeva appeared, the closed doors, which were strongly pinned with iron and locked with iron chains, opened automatically. Since the clouds in the sky were mildly thundering and showering. Anantanag, an explosion, an expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, followed Vasudeva, beginning from the door, with hoods expanded to protect Vasudeva and the transcendental child. One sentence purport by Prabhupada. Sheshnag is the expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose business is to serve the Lord with all necessary paraphernalia. When Vasudeva was carrying the child, Sheshnag came to serve the Lord and protect him from the mild showers of rain. Then no purport to text 51. Because of the constant rain sent by the demigod Indra, the river Yamuna was filled with deep water, foaming about with fiercing, whirling waves. But as the great Indian Ocean had formerly given way to Lord Ramachandra by allowing him to construct a bridge, the river Yamuna gave way to Vasudeva and allowed him to cross. And then text 51. When Vasudeva reached the house of Nanda Maharaj, he saw that all the cowherd men were fast asleep. Thus he placed his own son on the bed of Yasoda, picked up her daughter, an expansion of Yoga Maya, and then returned to his residence, the prison house of Kamsa. Vasudeva knew, purport by Prabhupada, Vasudeva knew very well that as soon as the daughter was in the prison of Kamsa, Kamsa would immediately kill her. But to protect his own child, he had to kill the child of his friend. Nanda Maharaj was his friend, but out of deep affection and attachment for his own son, he knowingly did this. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that one cannot be blamed for protecting one's own child at the sacrifice of another's. Furthermore, Vasudeva cannot be accused of closeness, since his actions were impelled by the force of Yoga Maya. And 52. Translation by Prabhupada. Vasudeva placed the female child on the bed of Devaki, bound his legs with the iron shackles, and thus remained there as before. So, the picture right here in the temple room is an illustration of the class, since I don't have any PowerPoints to share today. So in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, text 9, Krishna explains, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tatvataha jaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sarjuna. That for one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and disappearance upon leaving this world does not take birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, Arjuna. So here, the mystery of the birth of Lord Krishna is being explained to us in the very first purport. Srila Prabhupada, you quoting Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur from the Harivamsa, explains that simultaneously Devaki and Yashoda gave birth to Krishna. Vasudeva Krishna took his birth in Mathura in the prison cell, and Yashodanandan Krishna, together with Yoga Maya, took their birth in Vrindavan. So, we find in this purport that Prabhupada mentions Vasudeva saw Krishna as Vishnu who had taken birth as his son. And his love for that child was filled with awe and reverence. Hence, when Krishna appeared in his four-armed form, Vasudeva and Devaki paid their obeisances and then started with a lot of awe and reverence, glorifying Krishna in prayers, with prayers. On the other hand, the love of Mother Yasoda is said to be free from any forms of awe and reverence. It is Madhurya. So the Audarya love and the Madhurya love is being compared here in this purport. Now, for our benefit, Satyavrati Muni has written the very nice song that we chant for a whole month every year. Iti drikswali labir ananda kunde swagosham nimayantam akyapayantam tadiyashitagneshur bhaktajitatvam Puna prematastam satavriti vande. And he explains that Krishna is captivated by the love of the Brajavasis that is freed from all conceptions of awe and reverence. And he explains how Mother Yasoda's love in particular is imbued with intimacy, freed from this conception of awe and reverence or Darya love. Aishwarya love, Aishwarya. So Aishwarya Bhav of Vasudev is now compared to Yasoda. In the 43rd chapter of the Nectar of Devotion, in the chapter entitled Parental Love, a friend is speaking to Lord Krishna, and he's expressing the depth of Mother Yasoda's love for Krishna. The friend says, if Mother Yasoda were to stand in a deep pit of fire, and she was still able, while standing in that pit of fire, to behold the beautiful face of baby Krishna, then that pit of fire will appear to Mother Yasoda as a mountain of ice cubes. But if Mother Yasoda was put into an entire ocean of nectar and was unable to behold the beautiful face of Krishna, that entire ocean of nectar will appear to Mother Yasoda as an ocean of arsenic poison. Such is the love of Mother Yasoda. So, it's explained that the residents of Vrindavan have so many opportunities to know that of Krishna's supremacy. But somehow or the other, out of their deep love in the Madhurya Ras for Krishna, they neglect this point. For example, when Giridhari picked up the Govardhan hill on the little finger of his left hand and held it up for 7 days and 7 nights, then what happened was that Mother Yasoda still did not realize, and the Brajvasis, they still didn't realize that this little boy, 7 years old, is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mother Yasoda instead thought it was Nanda Maharaj that held up the mountain, because together with Nanda and other senior men, Krishna was holding up the mountain. Jai Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Sriman Mahaprabhu Shri Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Then, When the Putana witch was slayed and her monstrous form was seen by the Brajavasis, still it never dawned on them that this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because who else could perform such a wondrous task at such a young age? And Krishna, he too, he allows himself to be covered by the love of these devotees, so much so that he plays the role of baby Krishna, holding the sandals of his father on his head. He behaves like a normal child. He allows himself to be chastised by Mother Yasoda. He, despite being the absolute truth, speaks lies, thereby enhancing their love and affection for him. So, Mother Yasoda's love can be glorified in so many ways, and Vasudev's love is also so heightened compared to anybody else. In fact, here as we find ourselves at this point where Vasudev has become the father of Vasudev Krishna, we see in his character that his character is so imbued with the 6 symptoms of surrender to Krishna, that is known as Sharanagati. Those 6 symptoms of surrender is that one should accept things favorable, reject things unfavorable, accept Krishna as one's only protector, then to accept that one is dependent on Krishna, to also understand that to surrender one's free will to Krishna, and then to always remain meek and humble. We find this very prevalent in Krishna's, in Vasudev, especially from the night of Krishna's birth. As we sit here on the eve of Sri Krishna Janmashtami, we all know that on the dark night, right at midnight, during the storm, as Vasudev Krishna made his appearance as the son of Devaki and Vasudev in Krishna in Janmastan in the prison. And at that time, what happened? Vasudev, because of his surrender, never questioned the will of the Lord. Vasudev was in shackles. He was within the prison that was bolted with iron bolts on the outside. He did not question, will it be possible to execute the will of the Lord? No. Thine will be done. He believed that if it was the will of the Lord, sure enough, it will be done. And it's incredible that Vasudev simply stepped out of he picked up the Lord with no consideration that I will not be able to execute this task, despite all of the material obstacles. Vasudev stepped out of the prison after the gates and the shackles dropped from his hand, and the guards were asleep, and the doors, the bolts all mysteriously opened. When he stepped out, all odds were against him. It was in the depth of night and very dark. It was storming. The river Yamuna had risen in depths. Vasudev kept Krishna on his head. Like in surrender, a person bows their head, which is the highest part in their body, at the lotus feet of the Lord. Vasudev held in a basket, we find baby Krishna's lotus feet on his head. And keeping that as his supreme Shakti, he endeavored despite the odds. Vasudeva entered the Yamuna. And when he entered the Yamuna, the purport explained, the Yamuna eventually gave way, just like the Indian Ocean gave way for Lord Ramachandra to build the bridge and thereby cross to fulfill his mission. At that time, Vasudeva's determination was tested because the Yamuna, it's described, was very determined to get the lotus feet of Krishna on her body, transcendental body of water. Vasudeva, he was able to endeavor in this manner. Why and how? Because Vasudeva kept his motion because he accepted that he is not the doer. He accepted that Krishna is the doer. If this was the will of the Lord, that his child be taken all the way to Gokula, it will be done. Even though his abilities appeared limited, his will be done. We sit here not only on the eve of Sri Krishna Janmashtami, but also on the eve of Srila Prabhupada's divine appearance in this world. And I think it is befitting that we can draw parallels in the life of Srila Prabhupada and Vasudeva. That Srila Prabhupada spent 70 years of his life in preparation for the execution of the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be fulfilled is not short of being ordinary either. When Prabhupada endeavored in Jhansi, just when he had ended his term of existence in Grihastha Ashram, so many difficulties are documented in the Lilamrita that Srila Prabhupada never even had enough money to buy a third set of cloth for himself. Srila Prabhupada was writing to his godbrothers for money to send a third set of cloth for him. Can you imagine? He who was to become the world Acharya was being tested all this way, or up until the age of 70. Prabhupada, what to speak of not having any money? He didn't even have good health. It is described that in the heat of Jhansi, he was endeavoring to distribute the Back to Godhead magazines and had to face the sunstroke. His eating was so minimal that he would fast for many days together on hand at such an advanced age. His body was overcome with so many material obstacles, yet his desire pushed him on because he too, as Acharya, is the embodiment of Sharanagati in its most complete form. We find that Prabhupada endeavored, despite so many seeming failures. Actually, instead of using the word failure, I think I would like to use the word despite so many delayed successes. In a book written that documents his early days when he was at the Radha Damodar temple, Mula Prakriti, his disciple, gives an account of an interview with a sadhu who gives the account of how he never came across anyone performing sadhana with the great determination that he witnessed Srila Prabhupada performing sadhana. Eke ha kurunandanaha, with single-minded determination. He said that Srila Prabhupada could be heard crying loudly for the mercy of Srila Rupa Goswami outside his samadhi and sweeping the courtyard at midnight, crying wholeheartedly for the mercy to execute the order of his spiritual master. No ordinary feat, indeed. Because Prabhupada understood, and as Acharya was teaching us, that we are not the doers. It is only when mercy comes from above that anything can be accomplished. And it is incredible how Prabhupada endeavored all the way, and only one could say after the age of 70 there was glimmers of success in his endeavor. Yet he never lost heart. He endeavored with greater and greater vehemence, one could say. He became so tested with heart attacks on the Jaladuta you're quite familiar with. And up until he reached Boston, the tests became more and more severe. But the determination never waned. Just like how Vasudev, he endeavored through that entire journey, and he eventually came back, as the last verse translation that we read. He came back into the prison. He allowed himself to be reshackled after leaving Yoga Maya on the bed. So we see that after the understanding of Krishna is the doer, there is also two things that need to happen: human endeavor and Krishna's mercy. Also very clearly shown to us in the Damodar Leela, that the rope was 2 fingers too short. Our endeavor and Krishna's mercy has to be there. Now sometimes it can become a misconception that we have to be of the parasitic mentality and Krishna will do everything. We don't have to endeavor. So this is easily corrected in a little anecdote of Prabhupada's early days in Boston, of the movement's early days in Boston. His Holiness Giriraj Swami recounts of how in those days he had the service of being the temple commander under the temple president Satsvarup Maharaj. So Giriraj Maharaj explains that it was not always very easy for him, because he had to make sure that all the devotees went on Harinam, so he had to get all the instruments together, the mantra board for chanting, the car with enough fuel on it, and then lock up the temple, make sure everybody had to go. And he was very young, so this responsibility was a little bit sometimes challenging for him. So one day he found himself sitting in the car. All the instruments for the Harinam was in the car, the mantra card was in the car, the devotees were in the car. And then his temple president asked him, "Did you lock the temple?" And they were already late for their departure on Harinam. And Maharaj replied that it's okay, Krishna's in control. And Satsarup Maharaj quickly said to him, No, we shouldn't think like this. He said, we should be in the mood not to take service from Krishna. We shouldn't be too hasty to accept service from Krishna. That, okay, Krishna, I'm going to serve you now, but you take care of the temple. No. We should go out and as our service, lock the temple room door and then go out and Harinam. So I thought that was, in actual fact, a very nice understanding of how we should execute our service with full endeavor, human endeavor, and then depend on Krishna for the results. So Vasudev's journey to Gokul is actually quite incredible, and how when he came back to the prison house, we find that he was still dependent on Krishna's mercy. So before I ask for any questions, comments, or reflections on this, I will read the translation of that first verse once again. And bear with me, it is text number 47, translation in conclusion once again. Thereafter, exactly when Vasudev, being inspired by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was about to take the newborn child from the delivery room, Yoga Maya, the Lord's spiritual energy, took birth as the daughter of the wife of Nanda Maharaj. And we all know the story of how when Kamsa tried to pick her up, he was unable to hold Yoga Maya. She disappeared into the high heights of the atmosphere above him, and then she said to him, "You fool, the eighth child of Devaki has taken birth somewhere else, has appeared somewhere else." So she Kamsa then became agitated, and he made all endeavor to try to thwart the plan of Krishna to kill him by sending so many demons to slay Krishna. At that time, Krishna's will could have been different than what we know. Krishna was in Mathura. He was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He could have gone to the next door, to the palace of Kamsa, and he could have immediately killed Krishna. But his will kill Kamsa. Thank you. But what happened? Krishna didn't do that. His will was different. He wanted to go to Mother Yasoda's house to experience the childhood pastimes in association with the Vrajbasis for the 11 years that he spent in Vrindavan. And he wanted at the same time for Kamsa to do the service of collecting and summoning all the top demons, and for him to annihilate them in the way that he did, that will then bring pleasure to all the devotees present and in the past and in the future, so that we could have something to talk about for the rest of eternity and relish those beautiful dealings that Krishna had with his loving devotees, the Brajavasis of Vrindavan. So I'll conclude there. Are there any questions, comments, or corrections? Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The question is Vasudev, tell me if I've understood it correctly. The question that Prem Vikash Prabhu is asking was that he's hesitant to ask it, but he's wondering if Vasudev was not overwhelmed when he knew that Shesha was behind with his many hoods as the umbrella sheltering baby Krishna and Vasudev from the rain. So Shesha, he is an expansion of Sankarshan. In the Chaturvurya, you have Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Sankarshan. So he has an eternal service of incarnating in various ways to facilitate the service and the as paraphernalia of Krishna, etc. Right? So he facilitates this. But he also understands the mood and mission of the Lord. A good devotee will a good servitor understands the mood and mission of his superior to execute the service in such a manner that it would bring the highest amount of pleasure to that superior. So Shesha, being such a servant, understands that the mood and mission is not to frighten Vasudeva right now. So he can keep a respectful distance and make himself not felt. One, right? Two is that the Bhagavad Gita explains that fear is born of an impure heart. And Vasudeva's heart, we can safely say, is very pure and freed from fear. If you are holding the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you are so empowered and with your own faith to feel that no obstacle is insurmountable, the darkness of the night, the flooding of the river, the rising current of the Yamuna River, the shackles, all of these obstacles did not put any fear in Vasudeva's heart. So why then would a near and dear associate, no matter in which form, why would that put fear in his heart? Yes, Prabhu. Also we read the prayers of Vasudeva, Nishingananda Prabhu is saying. So Nishingananda Prabhu is commenting that we have already gone through the prayers of Vasudeva and Devaki, who already understood the tattva of Krishna, Vasudeva Krishna, being Vishnu, because he appeared first in his four-armed form. And in the prayers of Devaki, just before you arrived in Durban, we were learning from those prayers that she first acknowledged Krishna as the source of the Paramatma and the Brahman features of the Lord, that he was the Bhagavan behind those two features. She also acknowledged that Vishnu, that the two-armed form was superlative to the four-armed Vishnu form. So it is safe for us to conclude they also knew that the associate of Vishnu is Anantashesh, that he lies as the couch. He's holding up on his many hoods, the universes. He is an eternal associate of the Lord. So thereby, no matter how he appears, is harmless. And then another point which is also interesting is maybe he did not see Anantashesh because he was so absorbed in baby Krishna being in his arms. So Yogamaya was already in existence, and her service in the entire pastime is to cover the devotees at certain times. So, like Prabhu is rightfully saying, he did not see baby Krishna lying on the side of Mother Yasoda. He only saw Yogamaya because that was the will of the Lord. So he was so surrendered in every instance to only be as much as the will of the Lord required him to be, for him to play his part in that entire pastime. Any other question, comment, correction? So we thank you very much, and we thank all the devotees online for their continued encouragement and support. I wish you all a very happy Shri Krishna Janmashtami and Prabhupada Vyasa Puja, and I hope that these two personalities shower their choicest blessings upon us all, so that we too can become instruments in the will of Shri Krishna and Srila Prabhupada. You are all part of the will of Srila Prabhupada to be an instrument in his great mission. So we pray that on these auspicious days, which are like the auspicious time in the Rohini constellation, when a raindrop falls on a pearl, falls on an oyster, a pearl is formed. So this time, this moment in time, is so very vital for our spiritual growth that transformation of heart can become possible. So we pray for that drops of mercy to splash upon us all also. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Radhanath ki jai.